Welcome to the Experts Exchange Tech News Podcast. I'm your host, Gary Weil. Last week was the 2-year anniversary of Google Panda, the search algorithm update that has significantly affected the content users see in their search results. On today's show, we're talking about search engine optimization. Specifically, we're going to take a look back at the past 2 years of Google Panda and how it has altered the way companies do business online. Plus, you get a few tips on how you can improve your website search results. Joining me for that conversation are two guys who actually get paid to do SEO, Matt Nguyen and Jeff Kenyon. Great to have you guys on the podcast today.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Gary.
And I should probably mention that you're both former EE employees and perhaps maybe more germane to our discussion, you're top experts on Experts Exchange in your topic areas. Last I checked, actually, Jeff, your username, DHWake, is still number 4 on the all-time list for SEO. And Matt, you're 13 overall in internet marketing.
That's awesome.
Shows the benefit of jumping in there and going whole hog at one point in time and then...
That or just being bored.
Whatever it takes to get the content. Tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing now that you're not at EE. Jeff, you're with the SEO agency Distilled, correct?
Right. So I've been at Distilled for about 2.5 years now, and I'm one of the lead SEO consultants there. And so I'm working with a bunch of different clients, just kind of everyone from big brands and startups and doing SEO for them.
So you have a whole range of company sizes that you're working with.
Right.
And Matt, tell us a little bit about your company, Shopatron, and kind of how SEO fits in the mix for you guys.
Yeah, so at Shopatron, we work with branding manufacturers. We actually develop an online shopping cart solution for them. And then so naturally, since we are working directly with them on that platform, it's easy to provide a online marketing solution for them. So not just SEO. I mean, SEO is primarily my focus, but we also do PPC, email marketing, affiliate marketing, so the whole online marketing gamut.
Are you involved in all that, or are you just primarily doing the SEO part?
I have a lot of clients that do all those services, so I do work in all those fields, but my primary focus is SEO.
Very cool. Well, this is, of course, like we said, the EE Tech News podcast, and each week we take a look at what's new in the world of technology, chat with an expert or two from the site, and this week we do have 2 experts, and offer a few technology tips and tricks. We're going to dive into our discussion on Google Panda a little bit later in the show, but first, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the world of technology. I don't know if either of you guys pay attention to the cell phone unlocking side of things, but me, I'm a cheapskate, and so I have a cell phone that was unlocked a few years ago, and that recently became illegal.
You are now a criminal, Gary.
I think, as I understand, it's not illegal to have an unlocked cell phone. It's illegal to unlock a cell phone right now.
So you're saying is if I unlocked your phone for you and gave it to you, you'd be fine?
Yeah, I just use the stuff. I'm not actually selling it. Well, the White House and Congress, usually don't agree on a whole heck of a lot, but apparently the cell phone unlocking is something that they can get behind, the idea of making it legal. A U.S. senator has proposed a bill that will allow consumers to unlock cell phones for use in other networks after the president's administration backed over 114,000 petitioners who asked the government to legalize the unlocking of smartphones. I mean, you guys, Nuge, you're on T-Mobile, right?
I am a T-Mobile guy.
And how do you feel about your T-Mobile service?
You know what? I actually like it a lot. Their customer service is fantastic.
T-Mobile is one of those companies that's going to benefit from something like this because people like me who have an old AT&T phone, that's where you have to go, is pretty much T-Mobile.
Yes. So if you're making the transition, you have an old phone. I mean, if you're an AT&T customer, you can actually transition over to a T-Mobile service.
Right. And mine is actually, it was a freebie hand-me-down. I mean, it's about as cheap as it gets, is the hand-me-down.
I know, you're out on the street begging for phones. Let me drop an iPhone in your bucket.
Exactly. Jeff, what do you use for your cell service?
I am on AT&T now. I actually just switched about a month ago from T-Mobile.
Oh, really? You switched from T-Mobile. Now, was it a service-based, like a quality of service in your area, or?
No, it was more finally getting off my parents' family plan since I got married, and my wife and I are now on our own plan.
The truth comes out.
Wow. What?
We should probably edit that part out.
No, wait. We're keeping that.
Awesome.
Well, that's good. It's good to see you kind of, growing up and finally doing your own thing. Now, you doing your own laundry now, too.
I've been doing that for a long time, my friend.
Would you ever use an unlocked phone? I mean, you probably have no reason to, but you're kind of a cheap guy too, aren't you, Jeff?
Thanks. I appreciate that, Gary.
Hey, that's a compliment coming from me, a fellow cheapskate.
Okay, as long as you're complimenting me. If I don't go to jail for it.
Well, Senator Ron Wyden of Oregon has proposed the Wireless Device Independence Act of 2013, which would amend the law that regulates copyright protection. That it was kind of from the DMCA law that they pulled this little piece out that they used to cover cell phone unlocking. And if this goes through, then it'll be legal and we don't have to even have this discussion anymore. In non-US news, Microsoft has been fined in Europe over browser choice. You guys aren't using Internet Explorer, right?
What's that?
No.
Nuge, what are you using?
Primarily, I'm on Firefox, but I use a gamut of browsers.
Do you use a little Opera once in a while?
Yeah, I use Opera. I use Google Chrome. Sometimes I use Alta Vista. I'm just kidding.
Nice. Hey, Jeff, what about you?
I primarily use Chrome. Sometimes I'll use Firefox, but for the most part, it's Chrome.
Microsoft was fined $732 million because they stopped offering a browser choice screen to European Windows users. The EU said Microsoft did not display the browser ballot, I guess, to those who installed Windows 7 between May 2011 and July 2012. So I guess there are about 15 million European Windows users who weren't given the option at that point to say, hey, you can also use these other fine browsers, probably not Opera, but here are your other selections.
But they could go and install them afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like they were being stopped from doing it. You could go and use Internet Explorer to browse to find Firefox. But apparently, the European Union specifically wanted them to have a screen that said, here's where you have a choice between browsers.
Sounds like Microsoft, the one that got screwed in that one.
Well, speaking of Google wants a piece of Amazon Prime, apparently. In the latest from the Google rumor mill, the search giant is reportedly creating a competitor to Amazon Prime. The brilliantly named Google Shopping Express is going to be a same-day delivery service that costs about $10 to $15 less than Prime costs right now. I think they might want to workshop that name a little bit. I was a fan of Frugal back in the day when they had that.
Frugal was awesome.
But apparently that's not going to come back. Now, do either of you guys use Amazon Prime?
I do.
Jeff, what's your take on it?
It's awesome. It's free shipping.
Do you find that it kind of lowers your inhibitions to buying things spur of the moment on Amazon?
Well, a little bit. Not that much, though. As you complimented me earlier, I'm pretty good with not doing a lot of spur of the moment purchases.
What about you, Nuge?
I actually bought it for the holidays. It was great for the holidays, getting everything that I needed from Amazon shipped to my house and have to worry about going for multiple stores. So it was great. As far as like spur of the moments, yeah, every now and then I'll, I don't know, buy a packet of licorice or something.
Licorice.
Hey, I'll get free shipping on that, so why not?
Right. Yeah, you can just buy something that costs $4 and who cares, right?
Yeah, good to go. But I don't think so. I don't think I've really spent that much more money having Amazon Prime.
What I'm curious about, obviously Amazon Prime makes sense because you're hooked into this gigantic online retailer. I assume that Google Shopping Express is going to have to connect with sellers in different places, or maybe somehow it'll connect with Google Wallet. I don't know how something like that would work.
Yeah, they'll have to connect like in the same way that Amazon does, similar to what Shopatron does as far as like linking stores together in an online marketing or online perspective. But yeah, it'll be interesting how they link those businesses together and fulfill those products.
I think you'd have to be making individual agreements with each of those retailers.
I think so. There has to be like a whole fulfillment platform that they need to do in order to get it done. I think in the Amazon case, they've gotten so big where they're actually developing like distribution centers in key strategic metropolitan areas so they can do a fast track from the distribution center to the airport so they can get 2-day shipping out more reliably. So if they actually like are bringing in product and storing it, they can do so.
And I heard that strategy may even lead to same-day shipping.
Yeah.
Which would be crazy. You order something, before 10 a.m. and you've got it by the end of the day. That would be insane.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts.
I suppose the other way Google could go with it would be more a strategy where they create this platform and they incentivize online retailers to essentially take an API or whatever and just set it up in their shopping cart. So it's something that it's like, look, this is here. It's like PayPal kind of thing. Like here's a way to give your shoppers an added benefit, and then we'll throw you some money on the side or something like that.
I think a lot of people are vested in Amazon Prime.
Yeah.
So to get people to jump ship from Prime to this new, whatever it's called.
Google Shopping Express.
In the same sense of Google Plus, getting people to jump ship from Facebook and use that. That's still a difficult task.
Yeah, definitely. You guys have any exciting tech news that you've seen that you want to talk about?
The only new tech news I have is I bought a Nexus Far.
What's your take on it so far?
I love it.
Now, what is that running on Jelly Bean?
It's on Jelly Bean.
And do you notice a difference from your previous Android?
Yeah, because I was running on the first version of the Galaxy S. So that was running on Froyo. And so there's a vast improvement in the speed of the phone. And instead of a 3G network, I connect to like the HSPA network.
Mm-hmm.
And the cool thing about it is it's a Google phone. So there's no background programs that are loaded on and you have to get rid of. There's no really big benefit in jailbreaking it and making it faster.
And is the UI a little more intuitive at all from into Jelly Bean?
It's about the same. There's a couple of little quirks here and there. The interesting part for me is like the screen size is a lot bigger. And so it's interesting trying to navigate on a screen with just one hand. But
are your hands too little for your phone, Nuge? Is that what you're saying?
Pretty much. I have small hand syndrome.
I got an iPhone, and I like my Droid better.
Well, do you have an iPhone 5?
Yeah, it's mostly just the buttons. They're kind of small on the iPhone.
Mm-hmm. So your hands are too big, and Nuge's hands are too small.
We should just trade.
The way I like my Android.
Maybe just trade hands instead.
That'd be a lot easier.
Let's do that.
It's been 2 years since Google introduced an update to their search algorithm that has become known as Panda, named after the Google engineer behind the change, Navneet Panda. Created to improve the rankings of sites deemed to contain higher quality content. I was air quoting there just in case you couldn't tell. Panda has been hit and miss, and businesses have scrambled to stay on top of the numerous Panda changes that have rolled out since. Today we're talking with two of Experts Exchange's top SEO experts, Jeff Kenyon and Matt Nguyen. Matt, have you seen a shift in the mindset amongst the SEO community in the past few years because of Panda?
Yeah, I think I definitely have. I think along with Panda and then as well as the Penguin update, SEO is becoming like less about those one-off tactics to try to rank higher or the weird black hat strategy that happens with like websites. It's becoming a place where you're trying to establish more of a lifetime value with your website. I mean, the baseline strategies of SEO, I think, are still there and they'll still remain intact and will remain intact. But I think where the shift happened is providing like good, valuable information to a person. You know, it kind of goes back to marketing 101. You're a brand. How do you grow your brand and kind of establish that exposure and provide value to your customers? And I think that's where, from an SEO perspective, that's where the shift is happening of, especially since Google's obviously using brand signals to help rank websites and using that in the algorithm. So it comes back to like that mentality is like, what makes you a valuable website? What makes you a brand that's recognizable? And then what keeps people from coming back based on your reputation?
The way you're describing it, it seems like it would be a pretty good thing for the end user. Jeff, has it been a good thing in your opinion?
There's always going to be mixed results, right? But generally speaking, I think it has been good. And I think to kind of continue what Matt's saying, a lot of it's really just shifting our focus to focus on value rather than tactics. Instead of saying, I need links, it's looking at getting good links.
Yeah.
Right? And getting links that are going to carry value, even if they're no followed, right? Even if there isn't SEO value there, it's like being on a blog that people actually read, that someone's going to click through. You know, having that focus and focus on value rather than links or like that core SEO tactic or metric. And same thing with content. Like if you're an e-commerce site, you know, it's not just using the same product description. It's really trying to like add value to that product description and make it helpful and unique and stand apart and add value compared to competitors.
Jeff, you were mentioning earlier that Distilled works with a wide range of clients in terms of size. What are the most common content problems you're seeing with your clients?
So the most common problems we see are really around clients that have a lot of content where they have thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of pages, right? And it's having quality content on all those pages. If you just use the manufacturer's description, like it's going to be all duplicate content across all those pages. And so when Google looks at it, your pages don't really add value compared to any other manufacturers. That's really one of the big challenges that we face with like e-commerce sites, or if we look at someone that, is building out a lot of category or regional sites along those methods where it's creating a lot of content from a template and then scaling that, having a page for every city in the US or whatever. There's obviously a lot of low quality content because it's not handwritten, it's not unique, it's just swapping out a city name, something like that.
Search Engine Land, I know you guys probably stay up on their site. They recently did a piece looking at 22 of the biggest websites hit by Panda in 2011. According to their research, none of those 22 sites have returned to pre-Panda visibility. Is the algorithm update a death sentence for some of these websites?
It's a yes and no answer to that question. Mainly because when you got hit by Panda, think of it as from a reputation standpoint. You've established essentially a bad reputation in the eyes of Google. They use user signals as well to establish those things. So use the example of the site block strategy that Google pushed out as part of Panda. If Google doesn't like your site and users don't like your site, you're essentially have created a bad reputation. So it takes a long time to come back from that, and it forces businesses to have not only a paradigm shift in how they do online marketing, but in their business too. Whereas if the primary source of your traffic and your business is coming through Google and you get hit by Google, then you're no longer in business. And I think that's a mentality that you really have to take seriously, in that if Google does go away, how would you do your business? In the same sense of any business that has a bad reputation, it takes time to come back from that. It takes time to develop that trust. And if you're just tweaking different things with your content pages of trying to make those more quality, I don't think you really come back. I think when you have to make that paradigm shift and establish a business where people will come back to your website for a specific reason and they enjoy coming back, not just from online marketing, not just from PPC or SEO, but just directly hey, I value your website. So regardless of if I see it through a Google ad or a search result, I'm going to come to your website and use it.
Jeff, do you agree with that? Does it have to be a wholesale shift in how these websites do business?
Largely, yeah. I mean, it's really changing your focus, right? And again, everything else Matt and I have been saying on this call, it's looking at that quality and it's diversifying really, how people come to your website. And that's something we've worked on with clients where, we'll look at their traffic and say, you've got 60% of your traffic coming from Google. And while, it's good that you're getting all that traffic, we need to look into other strategies to bring in traffic from other locations, right? Because if something like Panda does happen, effectively your baseline is reset. It can be a death sentence depending on what that baseline's reset to. But really, you shouldn't think of getting back to where you are. You should think of improving your new baseline.
That's a good way to think about it.
I mean, I know of very few sites who have gotten to 100% back to their previous level. I mean, you see people can grow and they can make substantial increases, but really it's kind of shifting your baseline to be adjusted, the Panda adjusted version, and then going from there and looking at improving that.
I mean, is it a fair shift? Obviously somebody out there is getting this traffic. I mean, are the sites that are getting this traffic, are they worthy of it as opposed to those that have been penalized?
I think so. Early on, it was really hard to make that decision, just because when algorithm changes, it affects sites differently, and they had to make small tweaks here and there as they kind of went down the line. But as we've come kind of full swing after 2 years, I think that back to the whole branding idea and the signals that brands give, I think Google favors those things, and the sites that are gaining that traffic are the true brands and websites that people naturally trust and desire to go to.
Jeff, a little bit ago, you were talking about your clients and how they're dealing with sort of a lot of the same content. Like if you've got a lot of manufacturers' descriptions that everyone else has. Experts Exchange is in a different boat where, anybody who has access to Alexa can see that we were affected by Panda in April 2011. We've got a lot of user-generated content, and obviously we have a vested interest in improving our ranking in Google. What can websites like EE that have a lot of user-generated content where you have limited control over what these people are doing on the site, what can sites like that do to improve their rankings?
So if you're in a position where your content's all UGC based, then what you have to do is decide what you want to be accessible to search engines and what isn't. Well, you can't control the quality of what everyone puts out there. You can control the quality to an extent of what Google's indexing and has access to. So with old content, it might look like going through your analytics and saying content that's more than a year old hasn't had traffic in the last 6 months. Like, this probably isn't high quality content in Google's eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And then no indexing those and removing them from the index, so that you're really trying to have it's not more content that you have on your site, it's better content.
Okay.
As far as what you're showing Google, right? And same thing with new content. It's maybe you're looking for a certain number of interactions or something along those lines, like trying to define a metric, and this will be different by every site, but you define this metric that says this is how we're going to define good content and bad content, and then based off that, you show or hide content from Google using like the meta robots no index tag or something like that. Or if it's new content, you could just not even let Google access it using the robots.txt file.
Okay, let's say you guys, you're at an SEO conference somewhere, you're wearing your SEO badge with your name on it. You get in an elevator, right? And some sad sacks in the corner crying because their traffic is just in the crapper. They look at you, tears streaming down their face. You're an SEO genius. Tell me, what can I do to fix my website? And you've got, a couple minutes here on the elevator ride to tell them what they can do to change your life. No pressure or anything, but Nuge, what would you say?
I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, like be a brand. Look at what brands are doing. Look at the websites that are ranking above you and have taken that traffic from you, and understand like how their user base works, why they're coming back to the website, what makes them exquisite, and follow a trait. Like that's essentially the best advice I can give. Like there's reasons why those websites are ranking above you, so why not mimic what they're doing?
Jeff, what would you say to this crying individual?
I would tell him that he mistook me for someone else.
Oh, no, I just borrowed this badge to get free drinks.
No, really, though, I would tell him that he needs to, like Matt saying, look at these other sites that are ranking above him, but then look at his own site and be really objective. Is his content on there good? Relative to the competitors that are ranking better? Is it good? Is it different? Is it going to stand out from competitors? And really kind of, again, define those metrics and see how he can improve the quality of the content, the value.
Now, Panda's obviously it's just Google. So, I mean, what about Bing? I mean, is Bing relevant yet?
I think it really depends on your target market. If it's anything tech related, the answer is no.
If you're going for the Internet Explorer crowd, then maybe it's relevant.
Exactly. But really, at this point, Google just has so much of the market share. When I look at most clients, the breakdown is probably at least 85% Google.
Wow.
Like an 85-15 split between Bing and Google if we're looking at those two engines.
Matt, you recently tweeted that their webmaster tools have vastly improved. What's your thoughts on Bing and where they stand?
Similar to Jeff, I think they're making improvements in trying to get quality stuff on their website. But again, Google continues to have the lion's share of the search market. So you kind of adjust accordingly, like Jeff said. Like it depends on the type of market that you're going after. Obviously, when using your example earlier, there's a lot of people that still use Internet Explorer and Bing, and then it's on their computers. I think there's a demographic that naturally uses that. So if, I hate to stereotype it, but if you're in the yarn industry, I would say that those type of people aren't necessarily technologically savvy as much as somebody that has an iPhone and is in the tech world. So they may be using the browser that comes with a computer. So I'd say adjust your strategies accordingly based on the metrics that you see in your analytics. But again, Google still continues to have the lion's share of the search market.
Have either of you guys taken the Bing It On challenge?
I did do it.
And how did that go for you?
I skewed towards Bing.
Really?
I did.
Wow. How did that make you feel?
Dirty. It was kind of funny because I had to take it it was really hard to take it with a biased view because I'm in this space and I see what those things look like. So right. I know it's obvious from just seeing the side-by-side comparison. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a that's a Google result versus a Bing result.
So you can see the difference.
Right. So then I like skewed towards Bing, just try to like take that mentality. But I did pick Bing, and it kind of felt wrong.
Jeff, have you done that?
I have, and I think my results, if I remember correctly, were pretty mixed. But I think it's good. I really like Bing. They are my default search engine and one of my browsers. So I think it's great. I think more competition is a good thing.
Absolutely. We got to have the competition or Google will own us all. Matt, Jeff, thanks so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thanks, Gary.
And thank you for tuning in to the EE Tech News Podcast. You can subscribe to this podcast for free on iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube. To get personalized help for your SEO questions from experts like Jeff and Matt, visit expertsexchange.com and click Ask at the top of your screen. And for more technology news, be sure to visit our blog at blog.experts-exchange.com. I'm Gary, and hey, thanks for asking.